I'm Radhika, and we have Ashish Deokar with us today. I've known Ashish for all this time, and then I've followed his Instagram channel and his YouTube videos under the handle of Financial Apprentice. He's been doing that for a while. I have heard from friends and from him that he does like his own trading and investing. He started fairly early. I know that definitely among my peers. Ashish was one of the first ones to start dabbling in the stock market, and that's why I said to Ruddhi that okay, we should have him talk to us about financial security, because clearly we are at the age where we are ready to start thinking about that. Well, I don't know what the right age is, Ashish, but why don't you tell us how you started and how come you started off so early?
So, like, so what's common like, for the viewers? So, what's common between you and me since childhood is we both read books,
Yeah,
a lot of books. But the difference is you're into the fiction side, is what I remember. Harry Potter
childhood,
and
yeah, sure, yeah.
all of those stuffs, Potterheads. And I used to read, I was introduced to non-fiction, and that's what I enjoyed more. So one of the earliest books I read during school, apart from biographies, autobiographies, was this book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Highly recommend. And then there were other books by R.M. Lala, who's written a lot of books about the Tata Empire. So Creation of Wealth, Beyond the Last Blue Mountain. These are the few books. So to answer your question, what's the right age to start? There's a Chinese proverb that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years back. The second best time is today. So that shouldn't demotivate anyone. Start today.
That's I think that's the whole point of saying this, right? It's never too late to start. In today's climate, we were talking about this, that the market has gone up, but everyone's losing their jobs. It's fairly difficult here in North America to hold on to a job. So job security as a concept, I don't know if it's a thing of the past right now, because I know, like, I've heard my elders always talk about job security. You had that sarkari job thing, but because job security has been elusive, especially since COVID, I think financial security has become top of mind for me. Luckily, I got out of my student debt thanks to my first job.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad because I did pay for my master's out of my pocket, but I've been out there on my own trying to make it work for the last 8 years, trying to learn the US economy, and then as of last year, trying to understand the Canada economy, the various financial instruments out there. And I just realized, especially right now, that uh, something can happen, like your job can change, you have to move.
COVID can happen.
Yeah, like something can happen and job security doesn't exist, but financial security you could aspire to. Yeah.
Before we reach the investing part, I mean, there's this very famous rule called the 50-30-20 rule. Are you aware of that?
I know.
Okay. So 50-30-20 rule says that the amount of money you get, let's say, so in India, we call it in-hand salary, which is your monthly post-tax income. So would $1,000 be a good assumption? Monthly salary?
Might be a little less, but yeah, let's work with 1,000.
Okay, so for calculation purpose, 1,000.
Yeah.
So the $1,000 you earn a month, 50% of it should go into your needs.
Okay.
30% to your wants.
Okay.
And 20% in savings. Now, here's the catch, right? I mean, I remember a while back you said that traveling is a need. It's not a need, it's actually a want.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
unless traveling is your profession, that's your need. So, so what are your needs as a resident in the Canada? What's your needs as of today?
Yeah, I mean, rent, right? That's the first
Right.
need.
True.
Car, so car insurance, car parking, car maintenance, all of that.
Okay.
That's a lot. It's a
Right.
In Canada, it's almost double of what we're paying in the US just because of the state that I live in.
Wow.
Right? Uh, what else? Food, groceries,
Grocery.
and like, so we try to like order less takeout and get more groceries, or like not eat outside as much. But I consider food and groceries as one charge overall,
Right.
right?
Right.
That variance goes up considerably if you actually order out more. But yeah, so that might be a want and need separation. But let's say food, groceries,
Right.
um, cats, so like doctors' bills, right? So in Canada we have social insurance, yay. So no, not a lot of doctors' bills, but I do still
Okay.
have to take my cats to the vet, right? Fairly
Okay.
regularly. Um, they have their injections and their medications that they take, or probiotics and things like that. So I think that's a need. I need to
Okay.
take care of
Okay.
my pets. If we do have kids, then the same thing goes for the kids. Again, kids are covered well under Canadian insurance, but at certain point they're going to start becoming needs, and their schools and whatnot are going to start becoming needs. Uh,
So
uh,
as of today, these are your needs:
yeah.
rent, groceries, car maintenance, car driving, operating cost of a car, and
Like
your cat
travel, yeah, in general, like, or trade cards, so like, so basically
commute.
convenience, yeah, yeah.
Commute. So these are your needs. Now let's go to your wants. So what are your wants as a as of today?
All my litany of subscriptions, right? Um, that's definitely a want that we pay for. I didn't
Right.
include phone in the need, but I guess phone is definitely a need. Right? Like whatever you pay for your phone,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever you pay for internet, gas, utilities. I think that's like rent may include, we can include,
Right.
but wants, all my subscription, all of my TV, all those kind of things. Um, Traveling for sure for me, right? Uh, any and all beauty products, because those superfluous. You don't really need beauty products for hygiene, right? Uh,
Your rock concerts, your
oh,
Friday night parties.
oh, I mean, so I considered all of that travel, but yeah, like we went to the Maple Festival today. That was not a need, that was just a want, right?
Want. Right.
So all of your experiences outside, any weekends, any night outs,
That's a want.
yeah,
Right.
my cat's
And
treats, yeah, those are
okay.
outside, yeah.
And the balance 20% is your savings. So $1,000 you make a month, 50%, so $500 go to your rent, groceries, your cat bills, your commute, all of that stuff. $300 go to your traveling, parties, rock concerts, uh, etc. Shoes, let's say. And 20% should be saved.
Right.
Right. So this is a basic rule. And because this is personal finance, I mean, because it's personal finance, personal for everyone. Like my diet, my food diet wouldn't apply to you. Yours wouldn't apply to Ruddhi, etc.
Right.
So I mean, you can, it's malleable.
It's a rule, yeah, it's a rule of thumb. Like basically, this is what you could follow, and you can
Right.
classify your needs and wants as you want. But this is a good rule, right?
Yeah, it's a starting point.
Yeah.
And I made a small modification to this, that so 50-30-20 rule. So the $200 which you have saved, uh, it shouldn't, this rule, this proportion shouldn't continue forever, because every year you're going to get a hike, you're going to get an increment, you're going to switch jobs, you're going to get a hike. So that 20%, I mean, ideally your want shouldn't increase as much as your increment. That's called
Right.
lifestyle inflation. But the 20% money you're saving also shouldn't grow at the same rate, right? You need, once you have an emergency fund, once that emergency fund is secured, then that 20% you can shift to investing,
Right.
right? So do you have an emergency fund?
Yes, right now it's sitting in a high yield savings account. Yeah.
And what's the tenure of, I mean, for how many months is that, or how many years is that?
Oh, so usually emergency fund, what I follow this lady called Her First 100K, right? She's great. She does a like financial feminine, like teaches women how to do finance essentially, personal finance particularly. And she suggests 3 months of your living expenses, right?
Right.
Uh,
Right.
which uh, which has changed recently, but yeah, so roughly whatever my living expense, like we talked about my needs, so put those and add a buffer, and those 3 months of my living expenses sitting
Three
somewhere in
months.
an account, and they're getting some interest. A high yield savings account is a safe bet, just sitting there liquid in case I actually need to access it in an
Right. Right.
emergency. Yeah.
That's very important. It should be liquid.
Yeah.
because that's when you need it the most. 3 months is great. 3 to 6 months is what thumb rule is. So that's great. Now, how did you come up to 3 months? Like, what was your calculation?
So I calculated all of my needs, right? So
Right.
like rent, car, all of that stuff. And then I also looked at my previous like monthly expenses, like on an average, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how much do I actually spend in the 3 months? And I subtracted travel from that because I think that's something that I can control. And travel is one of my largest wants, right? Because I don't shop so much, or if I do cut out the travel, then what my monthly expenses would be, and
Right.
roughly that figure.
So once the emergency fund is sorted, once you have, in your case, 3 months parked at a high yield instrument,
Yeah,
then those $200 you have now $200 extra to invest in any other instrument,
right,
slightly riskier asset
right.
based on your risk appetite as well. So yeah, that's the 50-30-20 rule.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. What 22nd version of investing, according to me, is basically stocks are more considered to be more aggressive. Bonds and
Right.
ETFs are considered to be more comfortable.
Right.
And in US, I started with a very small amount to kind of tinker around, to kind of
Mhm.
figure out the market on my own and see how like say $100 I put in with Robinhood, and I found out how it fluctuated and how comfortable I am.
Mhm.
So that's how I got into it. But if if someone had to get into it without being too prescriptive, right? We're not trying to give any financial advice here. Where would they start? Like, how would they study basically for their investing?
Cool. Okay, I'm going to try to answer as much as I can.
Uh,
Okay, so there's this another thumb rule I wanted to, shed light upon. When you said, there's this stocks versus ETFs. So at least in India, this is followed. 100 minus your current age, that amount should be parked in equity. Or in other words, your current age, that percentage of your portfolio should be in debt or safer instruments. Let's say a gold bond or an ETF or an index fund or a fixed deposit, right?
right,
So let's say somebody's 30. So 70% of his or her portfolio should be in stocks,
right.
and the 30% in safer instruments, fixed instruments. That creates a balance. And as you grow older, your exposure to equity, because it's a high risk game, reduces 1% every year, and it's shifted to the safer instruments 1% every year.
Okay, that's
That's
definitely not where I'm at. Okay, so let's come to the controversy of it. Apparently, Ashish is nervous talking about this. Uh, but I did want to ask, touch upon this in our discussion. Is basically, let's start with the easier one, which is financial security at this age, right? So we talked about long-term goals and starting today, but how do I feel financially secure? Like, what does it mean for you to say that I feel financially secure today, or this is what I need to feel financially secure in a month or a year?
Hmm. I mean, as long as I have an emergency fund, that will make me secure financially. I did lose my job during the pandemic last year, and because I had a emergency fund, I could sustain. And during that period, I got a different job.
Right.
So emergency fund, very important. And in parallel, I mean, this is again what I read over the internet, Twitter. I spent a lot of time on Twitter. So um, nobody can grow rich by doing a job, by only doing a job.
Right.
So you need to have side incomes, side hustles. Uh, Again, this is also inspired by Naval Ravikant, where he says that you need to start a business or own a business, which is own equity in other businesses, create intellectual property. So basically, you should make money. You should be in a position where you make money even while you're sleeping.
Got it. So for you, being financial secure means having emergency fund to rely on, but
Right.
it also means constantly making your money work for you.
Optimizing my money
Right.
and make money so that money can work for money so that money can work for you.
Right. It's very
Right.
opposed to the old concepts of financial security, which meant, uh, like even right now, my dad, like he wants to invest in land, right? That's his
Right.
financial security. He invested in the house first. He invested in education, which was, it was not a appreciating investment, so to speak. But for him personally, he owns the home, he owns a bunch of land. Um, he owns maybe a car or something, but again, that's a depreciating asset. So for him, I guess it meant that. uh, I think for me also, over the years, owning a home, especially in Canada, has become part of my financial security.
Okay.
um, because I feel like right now I'm about to, like, I have all the saving, I have some of my 401ks, which is basically my the retirement account, right?
Okay.
In the US. Here it's called RRSP in Canada. And I'm ready to give all of it up just to get a
Mhm.
house.
Wow. I mean, that's the Indian in you, right? I mean, even if you're not in India, the Indian in you is making you buy that house. It's an emotional decision,
Yeah,
and yeah, to each their own.
right.
So,
But for me, initially I was, so I've seen, I spent 6 years at A&M, small college town. I did my PhD there, right? So I saw many people came in 2 years, paid off their loans, sent money back home, bought cars. Like they had very different trajectories, right? So I had to definitely learn not to compare myself to others, but I had a lot of time to think about what that means for me. And for the longest time, till I was in the US, I was like, I don't want to buy a house. Putting down
mhm.
roots is not a priority because US, my immigration situation played a large part in it. In Canada, I feel like I would love to call this place home.
Okay.
And for me, calling this place home means buying a home, right?
Mhm.
Um, it's going to definitely challenge my definitions of financial security because I do have an emergency fund. I have
Mhm.
some retirement funds saved up. But pretty soon, I'm going to go to a place where I'm going to have a house, which is not going to be mine for the next 10, 15 years till I pay it off, right? Uh,
Right.
but that's going to give me the security that I need. And luckily, or hopefully, because I have a job now, I'll be able to build on my uh, emergency fund again and build on my savings fund again and my retirement
Right.
fund again. Um, to add to that, because Canada is like we're permanent residents here, we
Mhm.
get something called unemployment income. So at least to bridge the gap, right? So if you don't earn money for a while, uh, you get unemployment income. There is talk of universal basic income as well, but
Universal basic income. Yeah.
let's see.
UBI.
Let's see. And in Canada, at least my health will be taken care of. So in
Mhm.
the US, it was very important to have emergency health funds because I did fall sick when I didn't have insurance, and it was like huge doctor's bills, right? So
Yeah.
you don't want that to happen. I had to have surgery on my knee. So you want insurance in the US, but here because the state gives you insurance, that puts me at ease a little bit. Uh, so for me today, I think financial security means being able to buy that house, but it was absolutely not like that 3 months ago. And I
Mhm.
am curious to see how it evolves in a year or so. But I think long term financial security for me would be definitely having one home to call my own. Definitely the Indian in me, definitely I'm my father's daughter in that sense. Um, Having that hospital fund, if should I ever need it, an emergency fund, not just, I think as I grow old, it will become hospital fund. And I think having operating expenses for my own retirement, right? Maybe the ability to pay for a nurse if I want to, or the ability to pay for my medications. I don't imagine I would be living, even if I had kids, I wouldn't be living with them. So basically, to ability to have and operate my own home without actively working, I guess
Right.
that would be long term, like hopefully 85 and beyond, not something like that. There was the whole idea of inviting you here actually was that okay, I want to have someone who started this at a young age, started this when there wasn't a lot of YouTube around, right? Like in Canada, when I came in, I was able to find YouTube, like all this information from YouTube, right? What is a TFSA, how much to invest in RRSP, how to convert one account to the other, what's a good mix, all of that. And this 50, 30, 20, like, I think the thumb rules that we talked about, I think they're fairly universal. So I think it was a great conversation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Insightful.
Yeah, I think I'm going to end with just one last question. If you knew what you knew today, back in
Mm-hmm.
2013, right?
Uh-huh.
What would you change? What would you do differently?
Wow. Okay. Uh, I don't know. I'm going back to Gurukul, right? So I think in fourth or fifth standard we had this in math we had this concept. I mean, this topic called simple interest and compound interest.
Yeah.
So the problem is we were taught the formula. We were taught how to solve that math problem, word problem, but the application wasn't taught.
Yeah.
I mean, for a fifth, sixth grader, you won't know the application, real life application. But I wish I knew compounding back in the day. So yeah, I mean, I would have been in a better place today.
All of my US friends know compounding very well because all our loans have compounded into larger loans the other way. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, compounding does work in that way as well.
but yeah, I think I agree. Like, it's that. So starting
Compounding,
today then is great because then you have the next
right?
few decades for it to start compounding. Right.
And also a small, I mean, this is what I've realized lately during the pandemic that, I mean, you worked in the US, right? You've done side jobs as well. So they pay you by the hour.
Yeah.
So which is why you know the hourly rate of a person.
Yeah.
Uh, I wish I knew that back then so that I would have made my decisions better.
Got it. Like how much your time is worth, basically.
Yeah. So for people in India aren't really aware of this.
Yeah.
Because it's not it's not discussed and
Right.
there's no awareness. So let's say like I want to buy a phone. Let's say I want to buy a 1 lakh rupee phone. Then it's a very Indian thing that I'll go to 10 stores, I'll visit 20 websites, I'll spend 4 days on deciding that I've decided that I want this XYZ phone. I want the iPhone 15 Pro, which costs 1 lakh rupees. I will spend 4 days focusing on it and not realizing that in those 4 days I've already spent 50,000 rupees
Got it.
because my time value is worth that much. So the cost of my phone is not 1 lakh rupees, is actually now 1,50,000 rupees because of the 4 days I wasted in deciding what I want to buy.
Very interesting. True. I think what I wish I would have known is uh, just that, like, not be afraid to have discussions. I think that applies to like literally everything, and that's why we are doing this podcast as well. I'm here today is because I'm not ashamed to admit that I don't know enough today. I need to know more, and I need to start today. And like apparently, every day that I spend, it could be worth 50,000 more, right? Yeah, I get it. The time value of money, right?
Time value for
But
money.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, Ashish, to wrap up, I'm just going to thank you for your time. I think it
Thank
was a
you. Thank you for
great
having me.
discussion. Yeah. And we'll see what the listeners have to say.
Sure.
Okay.